Hello and welcome to another tutorial. In this video we'll go over making a player character. And I've been thinking a lot about this. Like, how could I do this where it could be a base for any type of character you would want to make? Say you want to make a 3D character that runs around, interacts with your NPCs, get quests, return quests, and so forth. Or maybe you want a 2D character to do the same thing. Or maybe you just want your character to be a UI because it's just a card game. You're not going to have any kind of character really running around and doing anything. Or maybe you want your character to be a card itself where you can find different heroes and add it to your, say, another special deck, a character or player deck where it'll draw like 3 character cards out, and you could choose one of those heroes to use during that battle or something like that. Well, I was thinking what all of these things have in common is they all need to talk to the UI. No matter what style character you choose, you will still have to pass information into the UI so the player can receive that data and know what's going on. So I figured, well, why don't we make our player a UI entity where pretty much your whole player is basically just an element in your UI. It handles everything a player script usually would handle. And you just pass information that is needed into your UI from your 3D model or your 2D model. So that's what we're going to do. And I figured we would go with the concept and kind of go along the lines of, let's make our player a card. So that's what we're basically going to focus on today, but I'll make sure I explain how you can incorporate your other methods like a 3D model or whatever. But let's look in here on our scene prefab. Let's go into our canvas here, and let's turn our intro panel off. Now right here, this is what we're going to end up with by the time we're done with this tutorial. We're going to have something like this, where we have a spot for our level. Here's our character, our player's name. And I was thinking, your cards have an attack and defense, so we'll just use attack and defense here. And we can use these sliders. Let me select them real quick for you. Alright, we have these sliders here that we can use, one to gauge how much energy we have left as we're playing the cards, how much life we have left, and down here is an experience bar. So as they change, those will move, the values will be saved. So let's get going. I want to close this prefab here out, and we're going to start from scratch and make this prefab. Now if you notice the artwork I have in here, the background, the purple, that's part is in this kit. The other guy, I went on to the Unity Asset Store and I downloaded the Custom Character 2D Volume 1 and Volume 3. I brought Volume 3 in so when we start working on our enemy opponent, we'd have something to work with just for the tutorial sake. But these two assets, they are free on the asset store if you want to go ahead and import those and use it with this tutorial. But so let's go on to creating this character. Let's turn this off. Now, as you see, we have our car prefab in here. I want to go ahead and delete that too. Now, let's bring that back in, just so we can go through all the steps. Let's go in our TCG folder, go in our cards, and go to our card prefab folder. And let's bring our card prefab named card base and pull it in and put it under our canvas. You won't be able to see it if it's not under the canvas. Now we have it here. Now let's select our canvas, right click, go to UI, and let's make an image. Just as we're moving this image around, we're going to add a little color to it so we can see it. Let's move the image as much as we can to be center, or what we think is about center of this card, because we want to scale it kind of evenly, even though it's not going to be even sizes. But we're going to get to the height of the card the best we can. Alright, that's good enough. Let's go with right there, about center. And there we go, we got about the right size here. So let's go back, make it a white color again. Now we're going to duplicate this 2 more times. Alright, now what we want to do is on the very last duplicate that we did, let's go ahead and put our card border or prefab. And I think I'm going to use the one that's in here that's just an open face. There's no center border for description or anything like that. We're going to pick that. It's the same thing that's used for your deck holder, the same image used for those. Now we have it. We see what we're aiming at. We see how these images extend over the side a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and select those two on the control, and we're going to scale this down just so those corners are not poking out anymore. Kind of like that. And what you see sticking out right there is our card base, which we can go ahead and turn that off right now, or just delete it from the scene. We don't need it anymore. Now, our 2 duplicates that we made, we're going to select those 2 duplicates and put them as a child of the original image. So they're like that. Now this image is for your background. The background, we could change whatever we want it to be. Right now, let's just set it to be that same purple color. And now our character image, I'm just making it easy. I'm selecting body 4 from the custom character pack. And that's what we have. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, about like so. Now, what we want to do we want to add our sliders and everything in here. With our, let's go ahead and name everything so we know what we're dealing with here. Let's name the first one our background, or no, let's just name it player. And the second one, let's name it our player art. And that one, let's call, I don't know, our frame. Why not frame? So now we know what we're messing with. Now let's select our player art, right click, we're going to add a image. And of course we don't want it that big, so let's scale it down. And let's try to get it kind of square, an even square here. Which, that's alright. Let's go in our sprites, and I don't really have much selection for UI stuff. I'm sure you'll have your art together, but for now we're just going to select the default knob, make it a circle, and let's kind of make that a more true circle. Now let's move it to our corner. Let's position it where we want it and see how the scale looks. And I think that's a pretty good scale for it. I believe that'll work just fine. Let's go ahead and duplicate that and pull it to the bottom, straight down, so it stays aligned to the edge of the card. And we're going to leave a little space between the bottom border and the circle. Now let's duplicate it again, and let's move it to the other side, straight across. Try to make it seem like it's the same distance from the edge border, and I think that's good enough. Now what we'll need is, and this, we'll go ahead and do it in here. Let's right click on the player art, go to UI, and add a slider. Now this slider we want to bring down to the bottom and adjust the scale. We're going to do an even scale. Let's pull it well, let's leave this one right here for now. Let's go ahead and duplicate it and pull the duplicated one up. Let's take the original one, and let's pull it below the frame so it sticks outside the frame. And now let's scale it down to where it fits inside that frame, about like so. And let's scale the length to go about the length of the frame. And that looks really good to me. Let's go ahead and make it a child of the frame now. Now let's select this other one we just made, and let's rotate it on the Z-axis, and let's do it 90 degrees. Now let's pull it up, put it to the side of our card, and let's scale her down. Let's make it a little wider. About, I don't know, what do you think? It's not bad. Let's make it a little shorter though. reposition it, pull it kind of like level to here. That should be good. Now let's duplicate. Well, before we duplicate it, let's go in here, open it up, go down to handle slide area. Let's grab this handle. This handle, we want to scale it to make it more circle, because as you see, it's like a egg right now. Let's scale it to be more of a circle. And now let's select our slider. Let's turn off interactable. And you see how it goes kind of transparent? Let's go to disabled color. Turn that transparency all the way up and turn it to white. And now let's select our slider. We got it selected. Let's scale it down a little bit and move it up a little bit. That's good. Now let's duplicate it. And move the duplicated one over to the other side in between those two. About there looks good to me. And now we need a text. And we're going to need that text above the slider. So let's select our frame, or not above the slider, above the frame. Go to UI and go to text. Let's scale this down. See how fuzzy it looks? Till it looks kind of crisp. Like that. Now that's looking kind of crisp. Then let's move it up to our bar. Let's change the font to a white so we can see it. Let's center it, but stay at center top. And let's say player's name. And now let's grab the box scale. And let's scale this so it fits right in our bar. Oh, hold up. Check best fit. That way when we get down here, there we go. I think that's a pretty good fit there. So now we have our player set up. Now we need our text. So at the top, let's call this, or go in here, UI. Let's make it text. Let's name this text level text. This is the level our player is. Let's do center, center, and best fit. We don't really have a big font selection, so sorry about that. And let's do 1. And that's good. Now let's select our other image. Looks kind of small up there. Let's go ahead and make it the size of that. Now let's go to our next image, UI. Let's make it text. And I think I'm just going to stick to the same and make it the size of the box. Best fit. center, center. This is our attack. So let's go ahead and say attack text. Select our next image, UI, text, best fit, center, center. This is our defense. Best fit. That might help. So let's put defense text. Alrighty. Now these sliders. Let's take our defense text. Let's duplicate that. And then drag it down and make it a child of the slider handle. And then let's move that text up to the slider. Let's rescale it. We're going to make it the size of the box on that slider handle. And this will be our energy. So the amount of energy we have will be displayed on the handle of this slider. Now let's go over to the attack and let's do the same. Let's select that, let's duplicate it, and let's drag it down to the other slider's handle. Make it a child. Let's move it up to the slider. Kind of make it center. Then we're going to scale it to the size of that box. And there you go. This will be our health. So let's make that our health text. Alright. And I think that's about all we need right now for this. Yeah, I believe that's it. That's all we need for that right now. Okay, so we got all that done. Now to save you the hassle of watching me type, I went ahead and wrote the scripts that we will need. It will be 2 scripts. I went to our TCG folder. I made another folder called Player. Inside that folder, I created a folder called Player Creator. Alright, and we're going to have 2 scripts that we're going to have to write. Now, I did this so, just in case, say, you want to give your players a choice of different characters they could play, or you want to make different hero cards that people can find in the game. Well, since we're making this a UI entity, I figured we would do the player sort of like how we made how we're doing the cards. Almost the same. Where you can just make as many players as you want to by right clicking, creating player. And let's go ahead over here and open up our scripts. One of them, go ahead and right click, go to create, C# script, and create two of them. Name one of them player creator, name the other one assign player. And we'll go ahead and open these up and take a look at them. First one you're going to want to write is the player creator. Now this is not a mono behavior. It takes from scriptable object. Now you're going to have to make sure that you include this namespace right here. If you do not include that, then these scripts will not be able to communicate with anything else that I wrote, and it wouldn't work with this asset. So make sure you add this namespace. And then if you want to go ahead and pause the video, you can go ahead and do so and copy this script. You will need a public string for player name, a public sprite for your frame, a public sprite for your background, a public sprite for your character art, a public int for experience, a public int for level, a public int for health, a public int for energy, a public int for attack, and a public int for defense. Now if you come over, and don't forget to put this create asset menu at the top. If you do not do that, we will not be able to create our player. Now let's go over and look at assign player. And here this script is a mono behavior. This script will be attached to our player entity. This is basically our brains of the player. So in here we will need more information. If you want to go ahead and pause, you could do so. If we scroll down, you'll see these other variables we'll need. Any of these could be changed, added to, or taken away from, depending on how you want to set up your character or your players. And we can go in more depth. You just leave some comments if I don't happen to cover the topic or ramble on and don't ever hit on it, then leave a comment and we'll go through in more detail. If we come down here at start, we're going to load our player. Here, at any point we want to, we can save our player's information. Now if you notice, I did this with player's pref, because this is information that's going to change a lot throughout gameplay. So I figured this would be a better method of doing it than trying to serialize and deserialize over and over and over many times during the gameplay. So I think player press, I could be wrong. If I am, please correct me, but I believe this will be a lighter weight way of handling our saving of our data for our player. If you want to save their location or, things like that, you can just add it in here. And down here at load player, this is going to load everything from our player creator. It's going to put it onto this, whatever prefab this script is attached to. And once it loads all the information from our player creator and turns it into a object, then it's going to go to load stats. And down here at load stats, it's going to check. We have a int, save int. It's going to look into player prefs and get that int that player prefs has saved. If there's no value saved in player's pref for saved int, then it's going to return and it's going to do nothing. It's just going to set the sliders. If it finds no value in saved int, it'll just set the sliders, so your card will be set according to the information from player creator. But if it finds a value that is greater than 0 inside of saved int, then it's going to go into the player prefs and load all the information it has saved for the player back into the player. And then this code will assign all that information back onto that player card we just created. And then it will call set sliders, so all of our experience, health, and energy bars will be where they need to be. So if you need to go ahead and pause and copy this, go ahead. I'll go ahead and scroll up some again too. I'll go ahead and scroll up some more. Now I'll show you the player creator one more time. If you want to go ahead and pause and copy that, go ahead. And now that that's done, let's go back into Unity. Don't forget to come up here, save all, to save all your work. Let's go back into Unity and let's select our player and let's add assign player to them. Now you see, if you copy the headers as I had them, you'll have values that need assigned and values that will be set by the script. Now if you notice, a lot of things in here need to be public, and that's for the saving purposes mostly. And the other part of it is so you can look over into the inspector and see what's going on behind the scenes, what the script is doing, the data is processing and changing, and that way you just get a visual of what's going on. That's why I do that as well. If you don't want the stuff in there, you can make them private and then serialize them or things like that. That's up to you. But let's go in here and let's set these values that need assigned. Let's open our player back up. Alright, it's going to need a frame sprite. That frame is our frame that we made, and I think we named frame. So let's go ahead and drag that here. In our background sprite, that's our main player that's named player. Let's drag that inside. Our character art, that's our player art. Let's drag that inside of here. And we see energy bar, and it's a slider. This, I guess, will be our energy bar. So we will go ahead and grab it and slide it in to our energy bar. Experience bar. Let's grab our other. That's the one that's on the frame. That's right. That's the one at the bottom. So let's go to the slider at the bottom here by frame. And let's drag that into the scene under experience bar. And now it wants the health bar. The health bar is this bar, right above frame. Well, for me, that's where it's at. I'm not sure where it's at for you. Player name. Player name is the text up here at the top of the frame, which is the text that's under our frame image. So let's drag that text into here. Our experience text. Well, we didn't set anything up for our experience text. We can put a text right here in the middle of the slider that would tell us how much experience we have. But we did not do that, so I'm just going to leave that out right now. Our level text is the text up here inside this circle. So I think it's closed. Yes. So let's go and grab our level text, pull it in. Our health text is on our slider. Did I close it? Yeah, it's closed. There it is. Okay, our text is the one in the circle here. I just saw that one. Our defense text. Let's add that in. Our energy text is the one on this slider. And there we go. We got our energy text. And that is all we need to assign. Now let's take this player. Let's go to our player folder. And inside our player folder, let's create a new folder. And let's call this folder Player Prefab. Let's open that up. And let's drag our player inside. And make it a prefab. Woohoo! Alright. Now let's take this image. Let's delete it. You won't have it. I only did. And if you did not delete your card, you can go ahead and delete that from your scene as well. Now, we got our player all set up, but we have no players. So let's go inside our player folder. Let's create a folder. And let's make this our players folder. Just straight up players, why not, right? And now inside here is where we will make our players. If you just want one player, then you only need to make one player. If you want a bunch, then it's going to be very simple. Let's right click inside of here. Go to the top of where it says create. Inside create, we see a new option where create card is. It's called create player. Let's go over and create player. And you see a new player pops up. And let's call him Tommy. Now, we can make the player's name be assigned on a login screen instead of doing it right here. And that's perfectly fine. and it'd be very easy to do. I could show you how to do that. In fact, we might even do that. But let's go in here and let's set this player up. For now, we'll call him Tommy. The frame, of course, we're using this card template. The background, I used the purple one that's in your folder. Character art, we're going to do this one with a different picture than what's on there now. Same stance, so it looks like. Experience, this will be handled mainly through the saving and loading, and as you're gaining experience. We don't need to set a value right here, so let's not do so. Level, let's say he's level, since all of these are 1, we want to see him change, so let's say it's level 2. He has 20 health. He has, I don't know what, 30 energy. He has 10 attack, and he has what we will 40. How about that? 40 defense. We haven't used 40. Should we use 40? Why not, right? Screw it. We got good defense. Whoop, whoop. But anyways, there we go. We probably wouldn't even need a defense value, but I don't know. We just put it in so you can get an idea of how to do this stuff. Now let's make another character just so we could show it changed to 2 characters. So create, right click, create a player, create player. We'll call this guy Bobby Armstrong. Use same frame. We'll use the same background. This character art we will use let's do the orange one. Let's say we'll give this one experience of nothing. Let's leave the experience alone. Level, we'll go with 5. Health, we'll go with 50. Energy, we'll go with 20. Attack, we'll go with 30. Defense, we'll go with 10. How about that? Alright, so there we go. We got 2 characters made. Now let's go to select our player. And down here, there is a value that we need to set that says value set by script. The reason this value is under here is, say, just in case in the beginning you want your players to be able to pick a character on a login screen, you know, where you put in your name and then you can collect or pick a character you want to play with, and when you do that, your character, whatever they pick, new player or Tommy, Bobby or Tommy, whoever they pick will end up taking this value right here, player creator value. Well, since we're not assigning it by script right now, you know, say you find a card and you go to load, and your hero card is a card you want to play with, all that values will be loaded in here by the script. It will automatically handle that for you, depending on how you set it up. But we're not setting it up right now because I need you to tell me more specifically how you need it to come to be. Or I'll just do a video later. One of them will pick from a sign-in screen, and then the second part of that video will make it cards that you find and do a whole database on that. But anyways, for now what we'll do is we'll grab one of these and we'll drag it over and put it in player creator spot. First one under values set by script, if you copied it as I did, as I wrote it. Now let's go over here and let's hit play. And nothing happens. Oh, we didn't put a check to tell it not to. Alright, so let's go clear that. Let's go in our project. Let's go under our card. We have to go ahead and put a experience text in here, or we are going to get an error. So I'm going to select the slider. I'm going to add a UI text to it. Scale it down. I'm going to bring it to be somewhere around here maybe. Let's hit best fit. Center it up. I'm going to have to make it a little wider. I see now. So we're going to have to live with that. And this will be the experience text. Let's go ahead and name it. Since we didn't put a check to tell it to do nothing if there was none to be found, we had to do this. But might as well just do it. We need to do it anyways. Where did we put that text? Right here, experience text. Let's drag it in here under experience text. And let's apply to our prefabs. And now let's push play. And as you see, he's level 2. He's got 1 health. Are you serious right now? 30 energy, 10 attack. I don't think that's right. Well, he has no health actually. Health has never been assigned. Right? No, we assigned it to 20. Let's see what's going on here. Huh. It's not getting the health for some reason. Let's look in our script. We're going under assign player, under load player. And we are not getting any health up here. And that's I know why. I didn't put it in here because I figured this would be something handled with your script and according to your gameplay. But for now, we'll just go ahead and add health equals player data dot health. And then down here, we'll say health text dot text equals health to string. And that should take care of that. Now let's hit play. And voila. We got 20 health, 30 energy, 10 attack, 40 defense, level 2. Now to show you how to move these values, these bars up and down, which is really easy to do, we'll have to go through that in a tutorial when we're getting into our battle system. I think that would be the best time to get into moving those sliders around when we start actually doing battle and getting experience. But for now, let's go ahead and stop playing and let's switch our player creator to new player. Hit play, and all of our values change. Good, so everything's working. And now we got, and you see up here, the character's name changes as well. So now we got the base of our player. That's everything we need to do. And I think real quick, like, I can show you. Well, no, let's save that for a different time. We'll go ahead and stop it here, and later we'll expand on the player character and do a login window where we can set our player's name according to the login information. You know what you name your character during the login, and set this template, the card, up by what character you select when you log in. We'll do it that way just so you can see how to change this card, which is going to be our base character, according to whatever your player picks. And I hope you can see how this is basically, you just made your creature cards and spell cards right here. So if you want to make heroes that you can find and play like a card, well, you're ready to go. You can do it right now. How to communicate with this by other means, we'll cover that as we're making our login screen and going into more detail, into more depth with it. But for tonight, I guess that's all we're going to cover with this. And I hope this has helped you and you've enjoyed it. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe and leave some comments. Let me know what direction you want to go with these videos, and let's keep going and making games. Until next time.